Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, relax, and let's chat about what's going on up in the stars today. You may notice I'm back in my room. I have spent most of the spring and summer out in the living room where it was bright and light. But now it's not as bright and light anymore. And I'm tired of my having to run back and forth to get my materials. So I'm back where they all are. And I actually used the energy yesterday in the most positive of ways by taking the time to organize my information. So a couple of years ago, this is too funny. A couple of years ago, I bought a bunch of these binders, like they were $1 each just at the end of the school supply rush. And I decided, wow, I could probably use those for something. So I bought 6 of them and they've been sitting here. I've used a couple of them and I decided, hey, I'm going to put my Meta Cafe stuff in one binder. Woohoo. Who knew, right? Who knew? I never even thought about doing that. But I have, a substantial amount of information that I go through every day in order to create the show for you all. So now it's all in one place and I feel so good about it. And I also, yesterday, I have so many different things that I need to keep organized. For example, I keep everybody's charts that I've done readings for. And that's because they often have questions. And so I want to be able to have a quick way to find their chart to be able to answer their questions. And before it was all just in a file folder. Well, every time I hit the file folder, books would topple over. And so yesterday I also put those in a notebook. Who knew that you could be so organized? Apparently something in Virgo is getting to me, perhaps Mars, because it's about the only thing left there in Virgo. So let's say a quick good morning to everybody before I move forward here. Let's see, we have Brenda Gagnon. Good morning to you this morning, Colleen and Mimi and Suzanne and Debbie Hedden. Linda Dennis, I hope you're feeling better, Linda. Colleen says, good morning, everyone. Brenda says, good morning, tribe. Mimi says, good morning to all. Debbie, good morning. And Brenda says, Janet, what the heck is going on this week? Family stuff. Well, that's a great question, Brenda. This week, as in yesterday, the sun moved into 0 degrees Libra, which puts focus on our relationships. And on top of that, over the weekend, the moon was in Cancer, and the moon in Cancer puts pressure or puts focus, let's say, on our families. So families and relationships, quite possible that that's what's going on. Without looking at your personal chart, though, I couldn't really tell you. Maybe the moon is in your 4th house. Maybe the moon is in your 3rd house. 3rd house would be sibling issues. 4th house, mother-father issues, perhaps. 10th house might be co-workers. 6th house would be co-workers. So depends on where that is going on in your chart as to how it may play out in your life. But you can bet those are combinations that really bring up sometimes the best and or the worst in everyone around you. And yesterday, as we were talking about, I don't know if you joined us yesterday, Brenda, but yesterday we were talking about mirrors and how our relationships are really mirrors to us about what is going on within us. So it's not that the other person is wrong or creating havoc in your life or doing things to you. Rather, they are a reflection to you of what's going on within you. And that might mean any number of things. For example, what if you were blaming somebody for not getting their work done, right? For putting too much on you. And I'm just making that up. I'm not saying that's your issue. I'm just saying, what if, right? Then what you would need to do is to look deep within you and find out what it is that you're blaming yourself for. Why is it that you are taking on too much of the responsibility, perhaps? So we're always using the outer world as it is an out picturing of what is going on within you. If it's turmoil out there, then there's turmoil in here, and that's why you're seeing it reflected to you. And literally the stars above, they're not necessarily creating these things. So when I say the moon is in Leo and it's time to play, it's not that Leo's creating that space for play. It's that it triggers within you the expression so that it can be shown to you outside of you. God, I hope all of that makes sense, because so many times people ask me that question about the stars. Well, are the stars really creating this, issue for me? And it's not so much that they're creating the issue as in they hold the space for that energy to emerge. Whether it's positive or negative depends entirely on the status of your inner world. And then the way it shows up in the outer world is a reflection to you of how well you're doing inside. And of course, we're all doing, at various times in various places and with various people, doing better than at other times. So it's all relative to what is happening within you. So Brenda says, daughter, mental health, ugh. Well, listen to this. So mental health was splashed out about the world yesterday as Greta Thunberg from Sweden took to task the leaders of the free world in addressing the UN about climate change. And immediately the idiot people in this country that refuse to see that there's any kind of problem at all in the climate began to call her mentally ill. They brought up the fact that she had Asperger's or autism, and they literally drug a 16-year-old girl through the mud for having mental issues. Now, we call them mental issues, but I dare say that this is the beginning of a mutation moving through the human template. Ra Uru Hu in Human Design said that we would know that there was a giant mutation occurring in our DNA when autism spiked in the world. And this was literally happening. He's bringing this in and saying this in the mid to late 1980s, before there was ever a consciousness of autism in the world. And now we have these people, these leaders, these people who should know better, adults, mature, supposedly adults, dragging someone through the mud for daring to speak out, even though she has autism or Asperger's. It's unconscionable. It's demeaning. It is absolutely insane that that's even in our outer world, or that these people would deign to drag a child, a 16-year-old, through the mud for this. And I hope that that girl stands her ground and continues to do exactly what she's doing, and call to task the people who are ruining this planet and leaving it in a wreck and ruin for the generations, our children, for God's sakes, our grandchildren and their children, to have to clean up the mess. It is totally unconscionable. And on so many levels, on so many levels. But I have to ask, why is that in our outer world? Why is that showing up outside? It's showing up outside because something within us is still in resonance with that kind of demeaning, demoralizing energy. And not to, not to say that I'm above all that, because I'm asking myself the question, why is it out there? Why am I seeing it? Why am I reacting to it? Right? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. Every one of us, no matter how big, how small, how smart, how beautiful, how ugly, how whatever, we have to be asking ourselves those questions. Because if we do not, then we will not make it into the future, right? We have to be able to heal ourselves of these things that we see in the outer world. So wherever you find yourself in resonance with what anybody out there says, or where you find that you have a reaction to it, then it's something that needs healing within you. It's a call for more love. And of course, here we sit at the season of love. We talked about that yesterday as well, where we were at the gates in the human design, this right here, right? The identity center, where the crystal is, the two crystals come together, the design crystal and the personality crystal, they join together here to make you, and to attract to you the experiences that you need in order to ascend, to grow, to evolve. It's all right here in the human design. Please note, we're also reflectors again. So literally, the people in the outer world are reflecting to us the relative health or disease of the planet that we live on, of the family that you're in, of the world that's around you. If you don't like what you see, you only need to look within and see where it's off within you, and take a gander at that and then take a step forward in creating a healthier environment, a healthier you, a healthier whatever it is, family, relationship, etc. Now, that's not to say that people are not struggling with issues. For example, Brenda, you and your daughter, I have total and utter compassion for someone who's having to deal with mental issues. And what can you do about that? What's your responsibility in that versus what is your daughter's responsibility? I'm not sure how old she is. But perhaps it's time for you to take up an advocacy for her and get her some help. And I'm not saying that you haven't done that already. I do not know the situation, but doing what you can to help the people in your life and to support them with as much love and compassion as you can while they yet struggle with whatever it is that is their problems. But it doesn't mean it is your problem. God, I hope all that makes sense. Let me know how you guys are all feeling about that. Good morning, Kathy Miller. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Londa. Are you back, my friend? I've missed you. Marjorie Roth says, good morning from Virginia. And yes, that made sense, holding the space to emerge. But our inner determines love, that perspective. Exactly. It is all about love. It is all about love, how you love yourself, how you love the people in your world, and the bigger kinds of love. How do we love the environment? How do we love the nation that we're a part of? How do we love the race that we're a part of? How do we love all of humanity? How do we love all of the universe? So it isn't just, interpersonal. There are bigger orders of love. And I would say that the entire glue that holds the fabric of the universe together is love. And it's so misunderstood because all we can in our limited human mind conceive of love is that of a relationship, a kind of love, right? Where I love my husband, I love my children, I love my family, I love my tribe, I love my blah, 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 fill in the blank. But there's a bigger order love that holds the universe together. And it is a part of all of us. It's in our very DNA. It's in the very fabric of who you are. It is in the design that you came here to work through. And it's all about finding more and more and more love. Has really nothing to do with the fights you have or who's mentally ill or who's in the White House or who's fallen down. It is all about love and more of it. And how do we achieve more of that? And we can do this, right? This is in your heart. It is in your soul. It is in your very beingness. Mimi says, Greta is an amazing young woman. Shame on those who spoke ill of her. Absolutely. I agree. And I was stunned to find out what people would dare to say about a young girl who is out there doing something, right? She's not sitting on her thumbs and just blaming everybody around her for it. She's out there doing something. She's out there setting an example. And shame on anyone who, and it was Ann Coulter and somebody Knowles, and I saw the words that Trump wrote about her, and I think people want to read in sarcasm, but what he said didn't sound particularly sarcastic, so it could be, again, the screen that we're looking through, right? That screen, how do we see him, and how do we I don't know. Anyway, big issues facing our world. And at least this 16-year-old girl has the gonads to get up and do something and say something. She's saying the words that a lot of us want to say, but haven't had the opportunity to say perhaps. And in that respect, I praise her. And yeah, she's 16. Of course, she might say things wrong, or she may say things that she may say things in a way that a grown adult may not. But oh my goodness, watch out, world. There's more Gretas out there than you even know. That generation is just wow. So it is. She's amazing. Kathy Miller, good morning. Wonderful day yesterday, outing with granddaughter and my great-grandson. Met up with my niece also. So happy. You know what, Kathy? Grab that happy and hold that happy, even in the worst of days when things seem like they're nothing but trials and suffering. Hold on to that happy. Colleen says, well, those people were projecting a bit. Definitely, Colleen. Natasha, good morning to you. Londa says, good morning. You go, sister. And Brenda says, thank you for sharing. You're most welcome. And Colleen says it's showing up because we are resisting change as a culture and don't want to give up our consumer lifestyle. Wow, that is spot on, Colleen. That is a great observation. And Mimi says, are they speaking of what they are reflecting, seeing their minds are small when they see someone with large thoughts? Ooh, good one, Mimi. You guys are so profound. I just love that you guys have this profound sense of what's going on out there and how this all ties together. Good morning, Ashley. I hope your studies are going well. Brenda says, of course, Anne was one of them. Of course she was. I leave it at that. Leave it at that. I'm sure the talk show hosts last night, and I haven't seen what they've said about any of it, but I'm sure that they were all in an uproar over these comments. And to Fox News's credit, they did come out and say that they were in no way, shape, or form happy about what that man said, nor did they support that. And they totally ran him out of Fox News. So I'm happy to hear that. At least someone is taking a stand in the news and saying, no, not here, not on my watch. And, I don't know what to say about climate change. I know the science backs it up, but I also know that there's other science that says that this is something that is a natural order of the way that the earth moves through cycles of time. But I say that anything that we can do that will help the earth, that will cherish the earth, that will support the earth, that's in our power to do, we should do. And that means using solar power. That means converting to electricity. That means converting to free energy. It means taking care that we don't allow corporations to, in their search for profits, to overrule our common sense and our common decency. That is the main struggle that we are in as we move into 2020, people, right there. It is the people versus the corporations, the plutocracy. And what are we going to do about that? Well, we need more Gretas, right? We need more people. We need the establishment, the people in the government that know better to stand up and be Greta, right? To be Greta. They know better. They have more wisdom. They have more time here on the planet. We need them to be as brave as she was. Okay, Deborah Foster, good morning, cuz. I hope you have a beautiful day too. Natasha says good morning to everyone. Natasha, I hope things are going well at school. I know when the seasons change, sometimes the kids get a little crazy, but that's sometimes a good thing as well. They stir the pot. All right, now let me get off my soapbox for a while and let's talk about the astrology of the day. Today, when you woke up this morning, the moon was now in Leo and out of Cancer. So it changes fundamentally the way that we feel, right? We feel different today than we did yesterday with the moon in Cancer. And how is it that we feel? Passion. We feel passion for our ideas, for our ideals. Can you hear it in my voice? Can you hear it in your own voices? Can you hear it in the words that you're writing here to me this morning? Right? You can feel that passion and the passion for your ideas. We're also, when the moon is in Leo, filled with our creative ambitions, right? What do I want to do next? What's on my list, right? What can I clean off my desk today? So I'm more wanting to stay in this office that I created for myself to do my business. What is it that we can do today to get more involved in playing? Right? Is it time to take a vacation? Is it time to rest? Is it time to go out and take a walk? Is it time to play a game? Is it time to go hang out with children in your life so that you can catch the playing bug, right? Get out there and play. This is a great time to indulge in romance and love. Now, I'm talking indulging in the romantic kind of love right now. Shows of affection and what is that? PDA, public display of affection. I was also kind of tapping into what Harry and Meghan are doing in South Africa, just because I love those two. And I was happy to see that they continue to display their love. I'm such a romantic at heart. And also on the more negative side, while the moon is in Leo, we must watch for our egos, right? Our egos can go, we can get very much on the ego bus. We can become overly self-centered and even pushing into selfishness. So we want to watch out for those kinds of things. And since lately, when the moon moves into different signs, I seem to come up with a theme song. I came up with a theme song today because it was going through my head. I had Alexa play it for me, and it was Express Yourself by Madonna, harkening back to the 80s, maybe early 90s, when that song was popular. And I listened to it this morning and went, yes, yes, it got me all revved up. So if you guys have Alexas, if you have Amazon Music or Pandora or iTunes, get Express Yourself by Madonna. Listen to that song and be uplifted. All right, now, what kind of aspects is the moon making today? Well, there are two main ones, and one is really good and the other one's a little bit not good, but it is maybe good in that it may have unseen benefits. So today the moon is in a sextile to the sun. That happens in our route through the sequence that the lunar cycle takes us through. And we always seem to call attention to the squares because that's when we're challenged by something, where we have the crises of consciousness on one end and of action at the other, following the new moon. And now we are in a sextile where the sun and the moon, they're closing in on it. They're closing up a cycle here. So they're gathering their wool, right? They're gathering all of their talents and their gifts together in order to apply at the new moon, which occurs on Saturday evening. So there you have that. Now, the square that the moon is engaged with today is to Uranus. And so to me, that's about surprises. It doesn't necessarily have to be the negative sort of surprises, but I would say that with the sun and being the ruler of the moon in Leo, the sun rules Leo. So right now the sun is the ruler of the moon in Leo. I know that's a lot of words just to say those two are working really well together. And then throw in Uranus, and it may be sort of a monkey wrench thrown into your plans, a phone call that you didn't expect, something that happens out of the blue, but it could also be an opportunity that you didn't expect, or somebody that calls you and it's a great thing, right, that you really wanted this phone call from someone. So the potential is that we have something surprising and something that might be surprising in a good way. So there you have that. That's the moon in a nutshell today. Now we also have a couple of other transits occurring in this mix. One is Mercury in a quincunx, which is a 150-degree angle to Neptune. And then later in the day, Mercury in a sextile to Jupiter. So let's break these two down because Mercury is the common denominator here. Mercury rules the mind and communication. When Mercury is in a quincunx to Neptune, we may have trouble organizing our thoughts, right? It's a minor aspect, and it is in the background, maybe making things a little more confusing for you. My suspicion is that it may be triggering some self-doubt about what your plans are, or about what you think you can do, or where you want to go, how you want to do what you want to do. And early today, that doubt is there, that confusion might be there, and it gives way later in the day to the sextile to Jupiter, which is now I've got it cleared, now I've got the optimism restored, now I know where I want to go, how I want to do it. The words are there, my mind is clear. So if early in the day today you have a little bit of a, confusion or doubt moving through you, let it go, because later the day gets better. In fact, here's another way we could look at that, is that earlier in the day, we have this daydreaming energy, or we have this imagination that's flowing. And then later in the day, it moves to taking action, or action taking on the dream, on the imagination. So there you have that. I think in the early part of the day, it might be wishy-washy mind. Later in the day, much better, more clear, maybe even a clarity around what action is best for you to take. And it doesn't matter what form of action you take, as long as it's in keeping with what's going on in your own chart. Aha, you say, my own chart? You can get a copy of your own natal astrology chart, and then you can follow along with me every morning. And all you have to do is go to my website, www.living-astrology.com, and you will be able to request a free human design chart or your free natal astrology chart. And today's the day. I have that on my schedule this morning after I get the production of the show done. It is get the charts ready day. So you still have time. Maybe go to the site now and grab that chart. All right, there was something else that I wanted to interject here. What was it? Well, if I think of it, I'll blurt it out because I'm good at that. All right, so let's shift for the moment to human design and take a look at a couple of things that are going on that I had not yet mentioned to you. And that is that planets that have been in retrograde, i.e. Jupiter in this case, have now moved forward again and are pushing into new territory, or a gate that it was at earlier. And on the other hand, Neptune has pushed backwards in his retrograde. He's now pushed backwards into a gate that he was at in a previous time. And both of these things are very much in evidence in our outer world. Remember, Jupiter is a transpersonal planet. It bridges between the personal planets, Mars, Venus, Mercury, the moon, the sun, and the outer planets, which are Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and any of those other ones that are way in the heck out there. So Saturn and Jupiter hold the space bridging the two types of consciousness: personal consciousness, transpersonal consciousness, and collective consciousness. All right, so I hope that makes sense. If anybody has questions, go ahead and type those in down here. Oh, I see. Okay. Wow, 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 Natasha. I'm speechless. There you go. There's a Uranus thing going on in your life. Holy cow. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a little bit, Missy. So let's go to the human design aspects of Jupiter. In your human design, Jupiter represents, in your life purpose, it represents the rewards, recognition, awards that you receive in your life for doing your Saturn work. So Saturn shows you what your lessons are, while Jupiter rewards you for daring to do the work, to wade through the curveballs that life is giving you, etc., and to deal with your biggest lessons. Now, in that, then, Jupiter has now moved forward to the gate 26. I believe it was in 26 when it went retrograde, which makes sense. And the gate 26 is literally called the gate of integrity. Let me show you where it sits. I do believe I highlighted it. Highlighter, hold on. I wrote Jupiter underneath it, but maybe if I highlight it a little bit. There you go. There's where Jupiter is. It sits on, of all places, the ego center. And what are we having issues with perhaps today, or what we have to watch out for, is our egos. This center is called the will center. And it is an open center for about 7/8 of the population, or 4/5 of the population, depending on who you're talking to. And in that center is where we use our willpower, albeit mostly incorrectly, to push our way into getting things done. And the gate 26 has an issue around integrity, in that it wants, in its highest expression, its truth. In its gift, it is integrity. And what we mean by integrity is being true and authentic and in your own skin. Remember, the word integrity comes from the root word for integument. Integument being your skin, being in your skin, being true to you, right? But when it's an open center, like it is for a lot of you, you are taking in the energy from everyone around you, and there's a tendency to amplify all that energy and to rebroadcast it through conditioning and be something that you're not. So, for example, in the gate 26, it could be the salesperson who's under the pressure because we're moving to the end of the month to get enough sales, right? And so now they're out there pushing their product and not necessarily being truthful about it. In its lowest energy, this is about saying things that aren't true, like pushing the boundaries of truth, becoming more false than true. So we are all sitting here with Jupiter reaping rewards for where we've been living in our truth, as opposed to living a falsehood or living out of a sense of, this is actually trickster energy, the coyote energy, right? So this is lying or not. It could be truth or not. So integrity, it walks that fine line, right? That says, I need to sell 10 more cars before the year end or before the month ends, but I'm not going to do it by selling clunkers or telling people that they need things that they don't. I'm going to take pride in the work that I do, and I'm going to offer people things, and I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to walk that path. The higher moral code here is about truth and integrity. So Jupiter in a position to reward us when we do that work right? When we take all of that and we move it in a very positive direction, as opposed to untruths, right? Untruths. Now Jupiter will be here for a while. In fact, let's see here. Jupiter 26. I believe it's at this gate until the end of October, where it then moves into the gate of the light. And yeah, that'll be fun. I love it when it goes to gate 11. So 26 is all about integrity. And in its repressed shadow, it is manipulation. It is manipulative energy. In its rebellious form, it's boastful energy, right? It is pride taken to the negative, right? In the gene keys, we see it as the path from pride to invisibility via artfulness. Now, literally, this could be a study. We could take a deep dive. In fact, I did yesterday find all of the notes for the depth that I took the gene keys in during 2018. And I haven't yet to order them, but it must have been right around this time of the year, because most of the gene keys that we were talking about were the fear gates of the spleen. So I'm going to dust those off and go through all of that energy and remind everybody, because remember, this time last year, you were new to the gene keys. For some of you who've been following me for a while, this was new, right? That going through the depths of it. Remember, I was in the midst of becoming a gene key ambassador. So I myself was learning about the gene keys, and I was teaching you guys about the gene keys and feeling like a lot of it was going right over your heads, as it did my own head when I was first doing this. And so now maybe you are more familiar enough with it that we can take another walk through the depth of the gene keys, at least through what is coming up for us over the next couple of months. If you guys are up for that, let me know, and I will be happy to do that. Thank you, Gail. So integrity, so important right now, as Jupiter will reward us for our staying true to ourselves, staying true to our moral code, whatever that is. Remember, a moral code is not dictated to you from outside of you. It might seem like that is what happens, right? That your family has a moral code, or that your religion has a moral code, or that your nation has a moral code. Remember patriotism and how patriotism has been used as a weapon against people in our country over the last couple of years, i.e. Colin Kaepernick and the people who supported his right to take a knee during the Pledge of Allegiance, or the Star Spangled Banner, and all of that, calling him calling his patriotism into question. Slippery slope when we begin to dictate the moral code from outside of us, right? The Nazis in Germany, right? The people weren't on board with that, but there was fear there that if they didn't get on board with that they too would become victims of the Nazi movement. I mean, I'm sure there were people that were in agreement with it, but for the most part, people were like, oh my God, we're being dictated to, right? Do you see shades of this going on here, at least in this country? I don't know about, in parts of Europe or Asia or in Australia, or any of the countries of the world where you're joining us from. I don't mean to leave any countries out, but moral integrity or integrity comes from within. It is not dictated to you from outside of you. It comes from your inner sense of decency and constancy and love and compassion and integrity, right? Integrity, being true to you. Okay, if you have any questions or comments about that, go ahead and list that. Now, Neptune today has also, yesterday actually, moved back. It is in retrograde, so it's moving backwards. And it's moving back to a very powerful gate that it spent quite a bit of time on. And it is the gate of doubt. And that gate is one of the head gates. It's up here. Let me highlight that. I wrote Neptune in. Let's highlight this one. It is the gate 63, and it sits right here, right? And it is a gate of doubt and suspicion. Now you know kind of why we don't make decisions from our heads, right? Our heads are filled with doubt and suspicion, confusion, and awe and wonderment, and not a great place to make decisions from, which is why we don't have authority in our heads. We have awareness in our heads, and we have inspiration in our heads, but we do not have authority. So we do not make decisions from there. And Neptune proving that to us right now as he makes his move backward into the gate of doubt and suspicion. And doubt and suspicion is good. I don't want to say that that's a negative thing. It can be really good. Unfortunately, we often turn it inward at ourselves. We doubt ourselves, or we become suspicious of our own motivations, and there's nothing wrong with questioning your motivation. That's not what I'm saying. But doubt and suspicion can undermine you and undermine any group that you're working with, particularly if you begin to doubt yourself. So doubt maybe what other people are telling you, doubt the truth, someone else's truth, but don't doubt your own truth. Don't doubt your own heart. Don't doubt your own inspiration. Don't fall trapped to that. So Neptune was forward, moving through that gate, turned retrograde and moved backwards. And now we are back at the gate 63, where we are again looking at doubt. In this gate, in the gene keys, lowest expression of the gate is doubt. The gift is inquiry. And the highest expression here is truth, right? Truth. Can you see how these two are sort of dovetailing, right? That they are moving together through the human design template right now to bring us the capital T truth, right? In human design, we call this the gate of questioning or the gate of inquiry. And in its repressed form, it is self-doubt. Literally, that shadow energy at the base is self-doubt. In the more rebellious form, it is suspicion. And doubt and suspicion, not necessarily, like I said, bad things, except when we turn them inward or when we allow it to stop us from taking the steps and the action that we want to take in the world. So, okay. Yes, Suzanne says, yes, please do the gene keys. I will definitely do that then. Mimi says, lots of reflection of the fear gates, right? They're all up in our face, Mimi, through November 5th. And fear is false evidence appearing real. There are no technical real fears that we have anymore in our outer world that we have to survive through as it relates to the energy center. And that's not to say that there aren't things that, can evoke fear out there, but certainly we've got all the tools we have that we need to survive, right? We're not going to be eaten likely by, a saber-toothed tiger or a dinosaur or something like that. We don't have to worry that we won't have food enough for the winter. So that survival energy in the spleen turned into false evidence appearing real for most of us. And in that then creates paralysis. It's a point in your chart in the spleen where it can create stopping point from you moving forward, particularly if it's a false evidence fear. For example, yesterday we were talking about the fact that Mercury has moved to the gate 57, which is a fear gate of the future, a fear of the future. Like, I can't see the future, so I'm afraid of it, or I don't like the direction the world is going, and so I'm afraid for the future. So these some people are afraid that something going on in their life, maybe afraid they won't get a job, or afraid that they, won't be able to feed their families. There's a lot of different fears that we can, kind of move into when we have this energy focus on the spleen, which we do now with Mercury and Venus, and then we will have the Sun and Mars also hitting all of those gates. So for the long haul, we are awakened to how fear is stopping us from moving forward fearlessly. So there we go. We have a lot of work to do in that. And the gene keys really help us see, how do we move out of the fear? Because it's the fear that's in the shadow. The shadow holds the fear. How do we move to the gift? So from doubt, how do we move into inquiry? And what is inquiry? Well, inquiry would seem to be asking those questions. What am I afraid of? That's the basic one there. What am I afraid of? Am I afraid that I'm going to fall off the face of the earth and no one's ever going to love me? There's lots of fear that we have, right? Basic fears. In fact, there's, some very basic emotional issues that trigger fear in us. And for example, guilt, betrayal, abandonment issues, and there's like 3 others that are the base fears that we have. And they're almost all based on something that's happened in the past or something that may come in the future. And of course, there's a couple of others in there that are kind of crazy making if you really look at them deeply. So if we look at it, though, then we dispel it, right? It can't be a fear anymore once you've stared it in the face, once you've embraced it as a part of your beingness, and once you've said, I see you, but I'm doing anyway, right? That is the superpower, if you will, of the spleen, is its connection to time, and time being in the now. And in the now, all is well. So what am I afraid of? Right? So there we go. Okay, Natasha. Natasha's having a trying time, it looks like, right now. She said, well, actually, my position was cut last Thursday. My cat is dying and my youngest is moving out. So here goes another big transformation with all these endings, giving space for beginnings. And I wonder what big new awarenesses are coming. And wow, Natasha, that is crazy. Crazy, but all good stuff, right? What is it making way for? That's the greatest question ever. You're holding space for what comes next, right? What comes next? And I have total heart with you on children moving out. Your adult children, when they move out, leaves a huge hole in the heart of the mama. My husband did not react to that the same way I did. I just bawled my eyes out when my last child moved out. It was like there was this, giant ending, and I have full compassion for you on that one. Natasha says, with all this transformation going on, that is the one thing that I keep putting myself into is what is my truth, and speaking it with love, kindness for others so that they can navigate with me what is to be for the greater good. Well, actually, if the greater good in all. Yes, exactly. Mimi says, thankfully, on a personal basis, I'm doing pretty well. The outer world, yikes, snark alert, fearful regarding those that are filled with fear mongering. And there's a lot of that out there too, right? But again, right there, we have a right to be concerned with what is going on in our outer world. And what do we do about it? Well, we turn it inward and we say, where am I in resonance with this? Where am I adding to the problem instead of the solution to the problem, right? Because we all are. I did this wonderful presentation one time with, it was based on the Mayan calendar, which reminds me, that's what I needed to tell you. I'm just going to make myself a note so I don't forget. Mayan cosmology. Okay. So if you have an ice cube and you want to make it change, you want to melt it, you want to make it change state from solid to liquid, what you have to put into the system is heat. If you keep it in the freezer, your ice cube is not going to melt unless your freezer comes unplugged or the power goes out. And then heat is injected into that system, which then creates a change of state. We call heat resistance, right? There's a resistance in the molecules of the solid ice to the heat that creates a change of state. The change of state is in the melting of the ice cube into liquid water. from liquid water if we wanted to undergo a change of state. What do? We inject more heat into the system. We put more resistance into the system, and we can make it change from water to vapor, right? Or to a gas, to water vapor, or steam, gas, right? It's a liquid water is steam, and it is that heat, that resistance that creates the energy for something stuck like an ice cube to go through a change of state and become liquid water. And for then liquid water, another injection of energy or resistance to undergo a change of state that then becomes steam. And the resistance here are the people out there that are fear-mongering, who are stuck, who are saying the nastiest things about people out there, about other people, about children, or about immigrants, or about women of color, or you name it, right? All of that out there is those people, those loud voices, the seemingly loud voices, create the resistance to undergo a change of state. So Natasha's example here of these things that have all sort of, seemingly tumbling in on her here, are all about resistance being created so that she undergoes a change of state. Two words jump into my mind: transformation, ascension, right there. That is what is happening, right? It is this resistance that creates that change of state. Now, from our standpoint, we have plenty of people out there creating the resistance. We have plenty of issues out there creating the resistance. Do you want to be part of the resistance, or do you want to be part of the maybe 10% or so of the people, the population that is creating the template for the new, right? The new state. Because there are the builders out there that knew, in order to undergo the change of state, right, you had to put that ice cube in a vessel. Otherwise, you're just going to have water all over the floor. Right? You put your ice cube maybe in a bowl, or you put it in a glass, so that when it changed state, it had a container. So those of us who are not creating the resistance are building the container for the new world, the template for the new, right? So we need some people creating the resistance to make the whole change state, and we need those of us that are out there that are not part of the resistance creating the container for the new. That's about the best metaphor that I can give you for what is happening in the planet right now, or on the planet. And I hope that makes sense to everybody. I know that I waxed a little bit scientific there, but hopefully everybody gets the point. Marjorie just printed my human design and will schedule a session in October. I got tired when I saw the numbers went to 64. 64, because you have 64 codons on your DNA, right? There are 64 hexagrams in the I Ching. There are 64 gates in the human design. You have 64 gene keys, and on your DNA, literally 64 codons. There is coherence in the system. It's beautiful, right? It's just beautiful. These ancient wisdom traditions knew something that we lost in our scientific minds as we move through the ages here. But we're gaining it back. Okay, now go back to, let's see, it would have been a week ago this past Friday, where we were talking about the Mayan astrology, or Mayan cosmology. And I was telling you how they were oriented in more than just space and time, that they also knew their own place in the cosmology of the Earth. And I started to show you a diagram, and I totally forgot something in the diagram. So, and I went to bed thinking about this last night. Interesting, because then I had a crazy dream. And in this dream, I was in a room, in a house that I've been in before, but it isn't literally a house I've ever been in before. In my previous dream in this house, in this room, this room was utter chaos and furniture and stuff everywhere, just like total chaos in this room. In my dream last night, I went into the room and it was orderly, it was clean, it was neat. And I was like, wow, this is such an improvement, because the last time I was in this room, it was a tumbled mess. So I leave it to you guys to sort of figure out what that means, right? With me cleaning my desk out yesterday. So Mayan cosmology, like us, rooted in time and space, right? So I could create a diagram like this that says time and space, but literally they were also oriented in a third way, which I'm going to say is called cosmos, their place in the cosmos, cosmos being short for cosmology, right? So then that, I'm going to put source, or I could have put God. Doesn't really matter what we call it. And that energy for them kept them oriented in a way that was sort of energy emanating. Okay, Janet, get this straight. How can I do this in this camera? There we go. Energy emanating from source or God or the galactic center. And it helped them, their cosmology helped them orient. Well, if I had drawn this correctly, you'd see that this was a perfect point. And they were oriented in time, space, and in with their connection to source. And so that energy to them was a stream of consciousness that they were always tapped into. That's the part we've forgotten. That's what I'm trying to help you all remember, is that you are always a part of that divineness. It helps orient you in this physical world where time and space are the only two things that we really consider, right? We don't really consider that there is this other part of us, this divine connection, and that it is always shining down on us, that it helps us orient better. If you have a third point to orient yourself to, it becomes a stable configuration, right? It becomes stable. So you have a stable access to the energy coming from source or from your divine self. It's bathing you, it's embodied within you, this wisdom of the cosmos that then helps orient you in time and space. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Okay, now, good morning, Camille. Good morning, Diane Light. Great to see you. And last thing for today, and that is the Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day. Today is too loving. Interesting, Diane Light, that you would show up, because you are this in your human design, or in your Mayan astrology. You are Lamat, you are the star, and the star in this represents the planet Venus. In the two is the energy that we are talking about, that's coming from source, right? Emitted from the source, from the galactic center, from the center of all that is, from the Akashic records, from whatever you want to call it, right? It's the energy emitted from God, let's say, that is bathing the entire universe that you are a part of. And it is about healing duality, or understanding more about polarity and duality. In it is where the source of division is in our world right now, but it is a basis of the universal energy that we would experience polarities or duality. The energy of loving, or Lamat, is the earth energy of the day, and it is about being enthusiastic. It is about being productive. It definitely feeds into the moon in Leo today, in that passion for our ideas and the enthusiasm for life. And a side note, watch out for being overly competitive, or finding yourself in a pissing contest with someone, or being overly aggressive or overly assertive and trying to get your own way. Or watch for other people who are not in the know, and they may perpetrate that type of energy on you. So that is it for the day. Any questions out there? Anybody's comments out there? Anything that I talked about this morning that you don't understand? Now is your opportunity to get some clarity on that. Then reminders, remember, and I forgot to post this yesterday, that is my bad. The 2020 Almanac is now ready for pre-order. When you pre-order, you get gifts from each one of the participants, that the contributors who wrote in the Almanac. I'm included. And then you also will take delivery of your almanac and get to participate in whatever these things are, the gifts are, over the course of time. And I will post that today. Note to self, post that today. Then the second announcement reminder really is that tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. East Coast time, I will be on Angel Heart Radio, on Blog Talk Radio, and talking about the upcoming conjunction of Neptune and the Black Moon Lilith, where we have redemption, we have scandals, we have secrets exposed, a lot coming up from the depths during this time. In fact, they're only 2 degrees from one another right now, and we can already see in the outer world the scandals and the secrets being exposed, and I would expect that there will be more. And what does that mean for us? And what is the path of redemption? What are the high sides of all of these two coming together? That is what I will be talking about tomorrow with Annette at, again, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. East Coast time on Blog Talk Radio. And during the show, we invite callers to call in to get mini astrology or HD human design readings. All I need is your birth information, and you need to call. So I will post that phone number for you. And Marjorie says she ordered hers on Friday. Awesome. Diane says, great analogy with the ice, steam, and the water. I love it. Thank you. Oh boy, out for a wild ride. Scandal, secrets. Yeah. The outer world is already kind of, showing this, right? With last week, the whole issue about Trump and the Ukraine president and what I don't even know if it's true. Who knows anymore, right? It doesn't matter, but now there's another probe, another thing to look under the hood and see what's going on. But I also invite each of you to look within, and what does that all mean for you? Where are you not seeing yourself clearly, I guess, is the biggest news. And where can you make a change and come into more alignment with your divine nature, embodying it more and more every day. All right, I don't see any other questions popping up. So that's it for me today. I hope you all have a brilliant day. See you all tomorrow. Bye for now.